Hiranna kalja potokurshi hemoto. Hirannaya tokurani kimmaya takalya tata. Rohotaya vishitanya kalya potahashaka. Hiropomati haryamukode. Ishtaya mukupala karanda krusha hyarata. Hi everybody. I wanted to make a video in response to all of the Me Too comments that are going on YouTube. I know everybody's experiencing a lot of pain and just kind of, I think that there's a lot of energy coming up around what all of this means to us in our personal lives as well as in the greater scheme of the male-female relationship. And I myself have had more Me Too's than I can even remember, and I've healed a lot of that pain, but I'm sure that there's still a lot in there to be healed. And I wanted to ask my divine self to respond to this and to help us heal from the sexual trauma and to help us as a society become more whole in the aspect of honoring each other's divinity. So I'm offering this to us, to you, to me, to all of us today as a divine understanding of who we truly are and how we can meet the needs of each other as we're living together in this beautiful society that we've created, and how it can become more divine and more beautiful. So thank you. I offer this to you, and let's see what the divine self has to say about this. I am here. I'm aspecting myself into consciousness as the grace of all things. I'm seeing the divinity within me as you see the divinity within you. And we are aspecting ourselves into consciousness as the graciousness of truth, as the graciousness of peace, as the graciousness of our own divinity. And we see that everything we're doing in this divine space of truth is our own understanding. So we specify what we want on this earth plane, don't we? We come here and we specify what we want. We say, I want these things, I want this experience, I want this life. I want to live in this way, right? I want to experience these things. I want to see these people. I want to meet this divinity within myself in this certain way. And so we've all come here with an experience to be given, and we've all come here with an experience to see, and we've all come here with an experience to know, and we've all come here with that experience within our being before we even arrived on this earth plane. We've known what we came here to be and do and see and experience, and we've known why we've come here to see, do, feel, right? And as we come here with these experiences in our consciousness, and we come here knowing these things that we want to do, see, and feel, we recognize that our essence is our truth. Our essence is our truth. What does that mean? That means as we dive deeper into our true self, into our divine self, we know that God is emptying out the consciousness of our being to become pure, to become white, to become free, right? We are the essence of all things within our own being. We have captured that essence within us. We have seen that essence within us. We have known that essence within us. We have given God's grace to everyone that we see with everything that we do. That is becoming graciousness within our own being. When we are capable of seeing that the grace that we've given to each and every being that we have met is true and divine, then we have captured that essence within our own being. What is the sexual abuse? What is the sexual trauma? What is the sexual misunderstanding that's happening? What is the sexual malfunctioning that's being seen? What is the sexual energy that is erasing our fears, right? Is there a sexual energy that can erase our fears, that can be seen in a way that is conscious, that is divine, that is loving, that is truthful, and that is kind? Is there a sexual energy that can embrace all of divinity within its arms, within its grace, within its truth, within its conscious understanding? Is there a sexual energy that can be seen and heard and developed from within our being in our true space of peace? Is there a sexual energy that can be allowed to be free? Is there a sexual energy that can allow to be seen as the one that we truly are, right? So the consciousness of all things rests within us as us. Is the sexual energy that we are perceiving on the earth plane at this time, right? Exemplifying who we truly are within our own true being. Is the sexual energy that is exemplifying itself on the earth plane at this time resting in the consciousness of truth and love and peace? Is the sexual energy that we're observing around us in our everyday reality becoming free? Is it becoming loving? Is it becoming kind, right? Is it becoming essential truth within our own being? Do we know that God's energy rests within us as the truth of all things? And from that place within us is God's grace escaping into the energy of the grace around us. When we experience a sexual discrepancy, right, or we experience something that doesn't feel good to us emotionally, or we experience something that feels like a violation within our own being, or we experience something that is capturing us in a certain way that doesn't feel good, right? What is the reaction within our body? What is the reaction within our mind? What is the reaction within our emotional being? How do we describe these experiences that we've had, that we've seen, that we've known? How do we expect these experiences to be graciously presented to us in a future manifestation? How do we know how to conceive of an idea where these manifestations have been seen in a way that was not so pleasant, that might have even been ugly? How do we recognize them as grace? How do we recognize them as peace? How do we recognize them as the love of all things? How do we recognize these experiences that may have been traumatic, ungraceful, unseeing, or unloving? How do we recognize these experiences now as the grace that we've seen within our being? How do we recognize these experiences now as the essence of truth within our own self? How do we recognize these experiences now as God giving us something divine, something what is the feeling that we're feeling when we experience something gracefully that may have been seen in the moment as not so loving, not so peaceful, and not so kind? What is the feeling now if we look at this experience and we feel grace filling our being, welling up within our soul, saying, oh my gosh, what was that thing that I had to experience to know my true beingness? What was that thing that I had to experience to know my kindness and my grace and my truth within my being? What was that thing that I had to experience to know who I truly am now? Did I experience it gracefully? Because now if I look at it with the peace and the kindness and the love and the divinity that dwells within me, can I say it was a graceful experience of kindness and ease? Can I say that it was a graceful experience of allowing energy to be kind to me, to be loving to me, to be divine to me? Can I say I know that within all things is the experience of grace and peace and love and truth and divinity? Can I say I love you, God, I love you, my Lord, I love you, universe, I love you, whoever it is that you refer to as your divine consciousness? Can I say I love you? And I am gratefully allowing you to come into my space now to show me the essence of the energy that was being seen at the time of this manifestation of energy that was not so keen in the awareness of light, of joy, and of peace. Can we imagine one of these moments coming up in our experience now? Can we see that moment of the grace of God's energy coming through you in a not so nice way? Can we imagine that moment, and can we see it as it was in that moment of pain? Can we imagine that moment, and can we see it as it was in that moment of manifestation of unequal emotions, unequal feelings of love and grace? Allow that feeling to come up for you, whatever the feeling is. Allow that feeling to come up for you, whatever that feeling wants to become. Allow that feeling to come up for you, however it feels now, in the grace of this moment. Allow that feeling to fully realize itself within you. Allow that feeling to fully manifest in this moment of peace. Allow that feeling to know you gracefully, easily, and effortlessly within your being. Allow that feeling to become clean and pure within your truth now in this moment of peace. Allow that feeling to rise up within your being and be expelled into consciousness as the grace of all things. Allow that feeling to rise up within your beingness and be expelled into consciousness as the light of the truth of who you are in this moment of peace. So we feel this feeling, right? And it's deep and it's dark and it has felt demeaning, unclear, right? It's felt unclear, it's felt unpurchased. No one can purchase this from us. It's a part of our being. It's a part of our exemplary qualities of grace, really. Because we extracted this energy from God's grace so that we could see the depth of our true being. We've extracted this energy from God's grace so that we could see the meaning of God's grace within all things. Can you see yourself in that experience? It may have been painful, may have been kind, may have been ugly, it may have been deceiving. Can you see yourself in that experience as an observer of the qualities of grace that may have been being received in that moment? Allow yourself to fully function in that place. Allow yourself to fully function in that place. You are a functioning being of divine love and light consciousness. You are a functioning being of divine grace. You are a functioning being of God's grace. So what is it? What is it within you that can see the situation as a divine being manifesting into his or her space of peace? Can you go into that moment deeply, into the joy, into the feeling place of your own heart space, allowing that moment to become free now? Allowing that moment to become free now. Allowing that moment to become ease, grace, and peace. It can become free if we allow the energy of God's grace to receive us in this moment as we speak of the kindness and love of all generations, right? We have seen the grace that exists within all beings. We have seen the grace that receives its kindness into us now, we are receiving the grace and the kindness of God's energy. We are allowing the healing of our inner self to be seen in the light of the grace and consciousness of truth. We are allowing the healing to be seen as the grace of consciousness and truth in this energy that we are receiving. This grace, this truth, this peace, this love, this knowingness is all within us right now. We are allowing it to be seen within the grace of consciousness in all things. The grace and energy of God's consciousness within your being allows you to see the reciprocity that has taken place, and now allows you to know that the energy of God's grace is accepting you into its beingness and allowing you to feel the consciousness of your own being as a true survivor of God's grace only. We have seen God's grace, we have felt God's grace, we have known God's grace, we have accepted God's grace, and we are allowing God's grace to take over our entire being as everything that we have seen, everything we have known, everything we have accepted, everything we have felt, everything we have ever been. It is all within us as the grace of everything we are receiving. Everything we are receiving. I allow you to see me as the divine conscious being of light that I am receiving now. I allow you to see me as the divine energy of consciousness that comes through you as the divine essence of all things. We are receiving God's grace into our beings. We are allowing that grace to allow us to see everything with the kindness and love of God's energy, of God's truth, and of God's peace. Allow it to be seen within you as the grace of all things, and allow that sexual energy that has been trapped within your being to be seen as a traumatic love, right? Grace, peace, truth, love. The trauma that was received by us is now transforming into the love, into the grace, into the truth, into the divinity that we've seen within our own being. Allow that trauma to know itself as grace within your being. Allow that trauma to receive you into it as the grace of energy, of consciousness, of receiving, of knowing, of becoming. We are that energy of grace. We are that truth, and we are that peace. If you have experienced a sexual trauma, a traumatic experience, an event that has taken you out of your true self, know that God's grace is receiving you into it now. Know that God's grace is allowing you to become the full essence of your true beingness in this space of peace. Know that we receive only what we've been given to receive. This is the energy of grace that is working for our beingness in all things. Know that God's grace receives you into it and becomes everything that you are in this energy of peace. I allow you to become me. I I allow you to feel the essence of all things. I allow you to gracefully receive the energy of consciousness now. Have you received a trauma in your life that looks like it's not possible to heal from, that looks like it's not possible to expect grace from, that does not seem as tragic now in this moment? Could we release it now in this moment? Could we release it now in this moment? Could we release the energy of grace that looked like an ugly experience, or a tragic experience, or a traumatic event? Could we release that energy now into the grace of all things? Allow God's grace to receive you into it. Allow God's grace to know you as the divine being of light that you have come here to be. Allow God's grace to know you in the truth of all things. This is not about male and female bodies. This is not about the energy of consciousness that comes through as a male or female body. And this is not about the feminine and the masculine escaping reality. This is not about what we've thought it may be about. This is merely about the energy of consciousness coming through us as us, expecting to be seen as the grace of all things. We know God's grace within our being, and we expect God's grace to be seen in all things. And as we expect that experience of grace to be seen in all things, we recognize that our own grace has manifested into certain experiences in our life so that we may see ourselves more deeply, more consciously, more awarely, more graciously. Allow yourself to expect grace to be seen within your being, and all things will dissolve into the light of consciousness and peace. This is only about our own truth being seen, being allowed, being expected, being known. This is only about our own peace within our own beings, knowing itself as grace and kindness and love. We may be male, we may be female, we may be none of the above. It has no relevance to the consciousness within our beings. Our beings are divine, our beings are innocent, our beings are truthful, our beings are kind, our beings are gracious. We are divinity in all things. That's all. I love you. We will be together again soon. I will see you in many, 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 many manifestations of this dream. And we will become the true ones that we are in divinity and peace and love. I love you. We all divine. We are all free. Makurushaya takana nakaliya pata. Ishtakuru dana kalapatokuru. Eshava shava shava kamata. Inu kurudara karanda kriya poto. Ishava shava 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 kamata. Le kurutanda krapeshivakram. Mikotana ashivaka mata. Tashivako. Payanoko. Hiran